Your life's stable, but your body's still on alert. That's why your drive went quiet. So you try to fix it the only way you know how? You start tracking everything. And the more you track, the less you feel. Your nervous system never clocks out. Then you call it masculinity failure. And that shame cranks the pressure even higher.
That's the trap. You built comfort so tight it turned into a cage, and desire can't breathe in there.
We're done with spreadsheet sex. No safe words with Briana starts now, and we're getting your edge back.
Briana Bass.
Hey there.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. How are y'all?
Good. Good.
So, Briana, what do you know today?
Lots of things. It depends.
We're here to talk a little bit about today about men who are high-performing men who are scheduled, and, running from one high-performing goal to the next performing goal, and then waking up and with an optimized life with no sex life at home. Do you find guys and couples coming to you to talk about this? And where should we start this conversation, Briana?
I don't think they call it out that specifically. So I don't think I really get people that say, hey, I'm a high-performing, ambitious person. However, this area of my life is not going well.
Yeah.
I usually don't articulate it like that, right? So it's sort of a teasing out of what's happening in their ecosystem and in their relationships. What I mostly find is when I start to ask them about how they feel, which is like this very like non-cheesy sort of way, like it feels very practical and grounded. They have a really hard time accessing that information. And if you can't access that information, I already know that your ability to form deep connections, have a great sex life, all of that is going to be gravely impacted. So that's the data that I need out the gate, that's probably going to be something we're going to have to talk about or that you're displeased with.
Yeah. Johnny, when you hear this, high-performing guys scheduling their life and then working towards, and Brianna's like, oh, you need to schedule love life with your wife. Guy's like, oh, I don't want to schedule that. What's your response to that, Anderson?
I think they're high performing in not all areas. If you're a true high performer, you look, okay, here are my pillars. Am I choking pillar 1 for pillar 4? There's always going to be one pillar that's going to be, the height of them, so to speak.
Yes.
But is there one way down here and the other ones, there can't be this drastic difference. Like when Terry and I first got together, one of the things that she'd explained, about our sex life was she actually was really surprised at how, I can't remember how she phrased it, but she said that she was really surprised at how, like, I was trying to really understand, and I was like excelling into understanding our sex life like I was other parts of my life. And she was like, that was really surprising to me. She just thought that I was doing this and I was doing that and I was blah, blah, blah. And this was just kind of something that would fill the gaps that worked for me. I wasn't, but I didn't look at it like that. Like I want to perform there. I want to perform here, because performing in one area of my life, those are the guys that don't get it.
Briana, what's your comments to that?
Yeah, it's debatable. So for John, right, I think that's a beautiful attack, right? That's how he sort of goes about everything that he has care about. So for his wife, she internalized that as this is something he really cares about, which is me and my experience. That's giving her confidence when they get in the bedroom together that this is something he takes seriously and he isn't entirely self-absorbed about. He cares about my experience, my thoughts, and that kind of thing. So that already is like laying phenomenal groundwork where she feels that he has a desire to see her, to understand her, and to serve her. We talked a lot last week or the week before, whatever, about worshiping her and that you're going to get to the same place no matter what. So really go about it from that sort of angle. And that's what I hear John saying. And because his wife was familiar with his approach to things, and if he gives a shit about something, he introduces discipline. He wants to analyze it. He wants to evaluate it. He wants to find out where his gaps are, etc. So he went about it in the same way. And that makes complete sense to me. And I can see where she would have appreciated that, knowing his personal style. However, for a lot of men, this can be the opposite to breed connection and a great intimacy life, right? Because now we're getting into performance, reviewing ourselves, auditing ourselves, monitoring ourselves. And there's some very direct advice or concrete sort of next step I give men when they talk about delayed orgasm and a few other things that are coming up, I will always have a conversation with them about, how they see their performance, in the bedroom. Where do they feel like they're being measured or monitored? And when we start to have that conversation, I do start to hear about them assessing, adjusting themselves, anticipating, trying to optimize these things that sort of should be corporate or work jargon or high performance, high achiever jargon. And they're using them to describe how they are in the bedroom or with their partner. And that's a killer for arousal. If there's anything that I have preached, right, it's about how arousal demands, without question, full immersion, presence, immersion, absorption. And if you're in an evaluative state, you are creating automatic distance. You cannot have both. You cannot have absorption and self-monitoring at the same time.
So, Brianna, are you saying they're using these words with their partner? Like, I really want to optimize our sex life. Like that.
No, they're using them to me. So when I'm trying to ask them,
my God.
No, it's not that bad. But yeah, when I'm asking them, hey, how do you measure yourself? How do you feel like your partner is measuring you, right? There's sort of these trick questions. They don't know all of the stuff. They're going to start to open up about that. And we'll identify together that they're looking at it sort of in this corporate or very evaluative performance lens. So the difference between what John said, in my opinion, was prep. He was going preparation. He was going, let me understand deeply my wife. Let me see her and let me ask her these questions. And what have we talked about as well? The big old study they did about the best intimacy lives, and it was the ability to talk about sex. So John's really ticking those boxes.
Well, my first question to her was, tell me what you like. I want to understand what you like.
Well, and it seems to me, Brianna, where John, and I would even say myself, I'll put myself into this conversation. Like John made it very clear that these values were important to him day one, right? So, and I don't know, Brianna, if we as humans talk enough about that as a value. Would I be correct in making that assumption, right? Because we talk about having kids, going to college, the check mark values, but there's not the value on, so John, how important is sex in our relationship? Well, it's really important that yada, 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 yada. And maybe if we have this conversation on day one, it eliminates much of the performance stress men have later on. You know what I'm saying, Brianna?
Yeah, it does. Again, we're all saying the same thing around preparation, care, versus what I'm against, which is live in the moment, this scrutinizing how hard, how long am I lasting, this evaluation and being performative. What John is talking about, what you're talking about, is having conversations that put out the sex life into the open and makes the partner be like, without question, literally hearing, seeing you communicate. I care a lot about your experience. And also we have the ability as a couple, as a unit, to talk about sex in a really safe way. And she's going to warm up to that, right? At first, it might be a little bit clunky. She's maybe not that forthcoming, but you give this a few tries. Next thing you know, you'll be the couple that can talk about it in passing in the kitchen. It's not even some big thing, right? And you're constantly setting yourself up for success. And then when we're actually in the bedroom, I would want you to turn off some of that, right? We don't even want to measure against that scorecard, not live. Just be immersed, be absorbed, be obsessed, be doting, be worshiping, be present. And then later you guys can have those conversations sort of in hindsight if you want to get into the performance review kind of piece. Did you like this? Whatever. That's all great and healthy. So yeah, we're not talking about stuff enough. And I don't think we're approaching it from a value standpoint. It's seen as taboo, and people think this stuff is just going to unfold naturally. If we have chemistry, if we're an okay match, if we like hanging out, going to brunch, whatever, we're giggly, all the things, right? We're in this beautiful first few months phase. The sex thing is just going to be as natural as can be. And that is not true. And if you don't do some of this maintenance stuff or prep work, you will wake up in a year or two and it's weighing and you won't know how to get it back. And then it feels too big. And the man now is getting more evaluative than ever. And you can see how it just gets away from you.
And then you wake up, like we talked 2 weeks ago, the college roommates.
Absolutely. You start feeling like roommates.
Yes.
And I can't say I've always been good at this, but as I get older, I definitely, it's like, I know that it all kind of starts in the beginning when we have conversations. I know what she wants, but then I really kind of get in tune with where she is. Like a perfect example, if I play my cards right, meaning do what I'm supposed to do properly, and I take my time and I'm patient, I don't have to do much, and it does a lot for her. And that is where it turns me on the most. And then it's just like this it's like this fire that just gasoline keeps getting added. You know, it's like when she's in this place, if I'm patient, I wait for her to be to that place, and I don't have to do much, and she's just loving it. Holy shit. It's like so I guess what I'm saying is that part of it is I know what she wants, but I also have to stay in the space to let her get there so that we can really be where we want to be.
Yeah, if you're not talking about it in the way that you guys are, right, then we're doing it based on assumptions and relying on that chemistry that you guys have in other areas of your life. And it just doesn't work. So you're cutting through all the assumptions, you're not rolling that dice, and you're just straight up asking her things. She's getting safety from that, and she's already getting evidence that says he really cares about what this is going to be like for me. And that's beautiful. That's all this psychological safety, that really buzzy subject that we've all been hearing about. But that's what that looks like in application and practicality. Also, it's free, right? This is free. This isn't that taxing. Yeah. So these are great concrete things to introduce ASAP. And it will feel awkward at first. I cannot stress that enough. If you are not used to talking about these things in explicit detail in your relationship, you're both a little bit fearful of the subject. Maybe you both, let's be real, you both know that it's not going so great in that department. You just kind of kick the can, or maybe you think this is what our relationship is going to look like, right? We want to bury it under that rug.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to talk about at first. That's not missed on me.
You know,
real quick, hold on, Keith.
Yeah.
When we have these conversations, I have no problem. You always pitch it off to me.
Yeah.
Pitch it back to you. Let's hear about you.
Well, this is great, Johnny. I'm with you. So I want to start here with assumptions. I find this fascinating, Briana, is that I think that we as humans, we assume so much it's like the word assumption means so much in the bedroom, yet us as partners have no clue. Do we, Briana? Like in reality, we think that, well, I assume I know what Briana likes, or I assume I know what Lauren likes, but nobody talks about it because it's like we've been shamed to taboo to not talk about it. The word assumption, I believe, is a massive word in the bedroom, Briana. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of getting off script a little bit, but the word, like, because we just assume. It's like, well, she's a girl, I'm a boy. It goes in here, and that's what happens. And when orgasm's done, it's done. But unless we talk about it, to John's point, we are constantly assuming as adults. I'm kind of making a point here that I bet you assumptions live more in bedrooms than facts.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And another thing to kind of call it what it is, right? If I'm a man and I'm going, I can't rely on my assumptions, then that puts me in the category of who? Guys that don't know what they're doing, guys that aren't that good, right?
Yes.
Back to the whole, we believe that if we're good, if we're solid, and I'm good at this thing called sex,
yes,
then assumptions are it, right? Having conversations is going to kill spontaneity. It's directly going to call out the fact that, even though it's not, but I'm taking it as, I don't know what I'm doing because I even have to have these talks.
Yes.
I can't rely on my natural performance here.
Yes.
My perception of what things should be like. So it's a direct dig at yourself.
Totally.
You feel like you should just have this under control, right?
Yes.
The same way we would show up for a business meeting or anything at work. And if we were really great at our job, we roll in, we can phone it in. We still crush that meeting. We walk out, our ego's intact.
Yes.
If not bigger, right? So we approach sex in the same way, living on these assumptions, right? If I call it out, if I ask her what she likes, all these things, I'm drawing attention is my perception, which is false.
Bingo.
The fact that I don't have all of the answers to this. I need you to help me out here.
Yes. And then we put the word should into the conversation, Briana. We look in our own mirror and we go, well, I should last X time. I should be rock hard. I should. And it's just based on assumptions, Briana. So John, to answer your question, I very much like yourself, like a good intimate relationship with my wife in the bedroom is important to me. It's a value of mine. I love talking about it with Lauren. I like making it important.
I knew what you were going to say. I just thought it'd be great for the audience to hear that.
But I'm the same way. And when we first started hanging out, it was talked about, it was discussed, and it's an important value of ours and us, and it's an important part of our relationship. We talk about it. It's we know it. So maybe like you and Tara, John, and Brianna, maybe with you and your partner, if we haven't spent time intimately together and there's energy happening, sometimes the energy goes in a negative direction, which is because, and I think Brianna, I see you nodding there. It's because I know that we're trying to get our energy together in a positive area, but somewhere along the way we've kind of collided, and it's like, oh, we got to bring that energy into a positive space before. I'm sorry, we got to bring that energy into a positive space, and it happens in our relationship, but it's not based upon assumptions. It's based on conversations.
Yeah, that would be the strategy, right? And what I love about some of this stuff, because it's not all layups, right? Some of this gets, complex and layered, and some of it takes a lot of time. What we're talking about today, like you can start right now in an hour.
Yes.
So I love this stuff, and just, take, seriously when I say that it might feel a little off or awkward, but what you think might be happening, which is her feeling like, oh crap, he doesn't have the answers to this test that he should already know. He should have taken this test. For all I'm concerned, that's not what she's going to be thinking about. So, and I also, on the assumptions point, right? So what if you even asked her, how many times a week, ideally, would you do it? How many times a month? Because if one person's thinking once a week is ample and sufficient, and I'm quite pleased with that, and the other person's thinking once a day, we're already going like, one person's evaluating this isn't going well. Yeah. So even talking about stuff like that, really unsexy stuff, but what does that look like to you? How would you, if you heard from a friend what their intimate life looked like, what would you think about it if they were doing it once a week, or they were doing it once a month, or, what do you want? Also asking a woman, right? Huge is the time of the month. There are literal weeks where our desire plummets, and there are weeks when women feel feral. So you need to know your woman, and as she goes through these changes in a monthly basis. If you don't, and are operating on assumptions and without data, because you're choosing not to have big boy, big girl conversations that are a little clunky and awkward, you are going to have expectations of her feral week. That is not a technical term. And expectations of her lowest desire week. And you're going to end up feeling rejected. She's going to feel pressured. She's going to feel uncomfortable in the fact that she's saying no, or if she is participating at that same type of frequency or intensity, she might not be loving it in that kind of way, because she is different. She literally is different. And things in her are going, hey, we really want this. We can't get enough of it. Gosh, he's so beautiful. And his smile just entrances me. And the same thing a couple weeks later, and we're going like, not really feeling it.
This guy's driving me nuts right now. Yeah.
So annoying.
Hey, Brianna, so John and I talk about, so I'm kind of throwing something on the table here that just came up during our conversation, but John and Keith have been talking a lot lately about wearables and data, and we're moving into a world where wearables are everywhere. We've been talking about performance on this show, and I'm kind of nervous, Brianna, that you're going to have in the future couples coming to you with their wearables in the bedroom going, oh, their performance here is suffering, the performance here is suffering. And as a sexologist, is that happening now, or do you see that in the future? And do you have some nerves around that potentially? Because that aligns with performance in a whole different way, Brianna.
I have never had anybody mention wearables in the bedroom. Yeah, I could see us trending in that way. Absolutely. To try to have something as a shared experience where the couple is looking back and reflecting on it and discussing it, that I'm on board with. Of course, that counts as like talking and things like that. For a very safe way, right? So we're not scrutinizing. But yeah, I would hope not that we didn't transition to that, because the whole thing I'm preaching is that the more organic we can get things, the better odds, the better the connection, the better the presence. So that would be an antithesis and a complete, poking of this balloon if we were doing wearables and evaluating and getting quite literally into hard data. No bueno.
I've been preaching from the jump since I started with the show, Keith, that all of these little fucking gadgets that just crush us with numbers are nothing but a distraction. Because when you're paying attention to the numbers, what you're not paying attention to is how you feel, and how you feel is the true currency.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Nothing can actually compete with what you're experiencing from, the working out and all the things, right? Which I don't know much about, but same theme. So, despite what the data said, there's nothing that is as strong as a signal and reliable and valid as your own personal experience with it, firsthand or empirically speaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the last thing we need is another monitoring system, something that adds pressure or self-performance
Bingo.
review or an
Bingo.
audit
Yes.
screen or anything like that. We don't need anything getting in between this organic, firsthand, fully present experience. No analytics, none of that, unless of course it's in the way we were talking about earlier, which is having a really thoughtful talking conversation.
Keith, John, and Briana, no safe words this morning on Mornings and Live with Keith, John, and friends here. Always a great chat with Briana, and I always throw 1,000 things on the table when we get to one. Hey, Briana, one other quick thing to throw out here for all three of us, and it's just kind of a curious question, and I'm just looking for perhaps an opinion. Why is society getting more comfortable with men having sex toys as much as we are society comfortable with women having sex toys? My point is that we still seem to shame men who want to have a sex toy, but yet it's like readily acceptable for a woman to be carrying a vibrator in her purse. But the moment a man has a masturbator in his bag or in his box, in his drawer, he's shamed. Would I be correct in saying that, Briana?
That's true. I do believe that's a double standard. I do believe that the tolerance, the almost even celebrated if a woman has a vibrator or a toy.
Yeah.
However, if a male were to have it, right, it's seen as shameful and embarrassing. So yeah, I do agree with you that is the society outlook on it for right now. I will also say I think that that's changing, right? I think that the toys and stuff for men is becoming a little bit more acceptable. But right now, certainly, I would still say it's falling into the taboo category and feels very off-putting.
But are these the guys that are ashamed of whatever whatever toy their choice? Are these the same guys that also are embarrassed the fact that they don't admit that they jerk off or masturbate? It's like
exactly, Johnny. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, every once in a while you meet some. Oh yeah, I don't do that. Do you not breathe either?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you the one on the planet that's found a way to fucking not use air?
Well, but Briana's right, John. You go through airport screening device and you see an attractive woman who ends up having a vibrator in her purse, and all the men are like, "Oh my God, look at the attractive woman with a vibrator!" And then you have the guy walk through that same airport experience, Briana, who happens to have a masturbator fall out of his bag. He is shamed, he's chastised, he's teased, and because we both have human experiences, it's actually quite fascinating to me, Briana, how we treat it that way.
I mean, my masturbator's right here.
Yes. Yes.
I don't need anything else. I mean, anything else would just be something else for me to keep track of. This does the job. If you look, I put it on my left hand. Funny enough, I can use them both actually, but this is the primary, and I'm right-handed. But my point is that if you're liberated by what you do, does it fucking matter what you're holding? Is it you're holding something that you're using on your dick, or you're fucking literally using your hand on your dick? What's the difference?
Well, that's why I put it on the table, because I just, we as, and again, John, if we can work on changing the conversation, life expectancy work's important. Masturbation is important. Whether you need a toy or whether you need your hand, get it done. Briana, would you not agree? Like, seriously, get it done.
No, I do agree. And, the only note, which of course I have to say something that's like, well, except for this, part, or be careful with this, right? These things do escalate, right? So just like porn, when you have your baseline here, if you sort of play in a certain kind of space, your baseline may rise. So if your hand is working, then we, graduate to something else. We might need to graduate from something else or to something else from there. So just keep that in mind. But yes, masturbating is healthy. That's good. There's release. There's all the things. We all know the biological mechanisms that sort of fire off based on that. And there is a double standard. It's just that straightforward. There just is. Women have got a litany of their own, and there's many more for men past the sex toy thing. I do think it's trending, though, in a less double standard type of way.
Yes. Keith, John, and Briana. Hey, Briana, did you have this alarm clock growing up? I know that I'm a little bit older than you are. Johnny, I had this exact alarm clock growing up. Do you have that, Briana, by any chance, in your bed?
I did. I think my grandparents had it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Anders, did you have one of those alarm clocks?
I had some version of that. It wasn't that same one, but I definitely, the red, the numbers was pretty standard.
Oh yeah, I have one of my first alarm clock. It still exists today. I still have it today, which is pretty awesome.
The first one was the wind up. They call it the Big Ben.
Yes, that flips over. John Petricelli dropping in saying super interesting convo with Briana Bass. I agree.